Alright, so this research paper was submitted for academic approval and processing through ESO. This is a paper submitted by Sitha, Plectro, Dancer, and company. Minimizing death rate of damage dealers through complex plane positioning and quantum superpositioning in veteran Asylum Sanctorium. If you're wondering why you keep dying in trials or even VAS hard mode, well, that's because you didn't get your college degree. So let's move on. All right, we don't actually have a department of quantum mathematics, but yeah, we'll keep going. Introduction. The Asylum Sanctorium trial holds up to 12 members, who St. Olms just will attempt to mercilessly murder during their stay. Among St. Olms' attacks is Storm the Heavens, which has several times proven to be especially deadly to damage dealers. Further, just DDs. I'm going to have to strike a point from this research paper because it's DPS. Deal with it. In order to try and minimize deaths caused by this attack, we will research the attack pattern and calculate optimal trajectories on the complex plane representing the planned view of the fighting arena. Furthermore, we have also devised optimal timing of performing the quantum measurement to collapse the DPS's superposition in the block sphere representation of the arena into the classical binary information where 0 represents the exit and 1 represents the entrance of the arena. This quantum superposition collapse has proven especially useful to avoid deaths during St. Olms' Gust of Steam's attack. And of course, they do attribute that information to me, not Outcast. Perfect. I'll add a point back. Section 1. Storm the Heavens positioning. Many DDs often report the traditional positioning to be confusing, where each DD, or DPS, is assigned an integer value x, where x is a member of the set 1-8, which is a subset of n. Because of this confusion, DPS do not know where to stand. Our team has devised a simpler explanation for this positioning, using the unit circle representation within the complex plane, centered at the intersection of the real and imaginary axes. The position of each DPS can be simply represented using the following formula. P equals e to the power of I pi, multiplied to the exponent of that, xt minus 5/14. Where P is the final position of the DPS on the complex plane, I is the imaginary unit, D is the optimal spacing constant, and X is the traditional position of the DPS in range 1 to 8. If we let squiggly symbol equal pi multiplied by xd minus 5/14, it is immediately obvious that using Taylor expansion, P can also be simply expressed in the form P equals the cosine of squiggly line plus I sine squiggly line. And here's a chart showing the Pythagorean theorem and some quadratic formulas and shit and fucking calculus bullshit going on here. Alright, anyway, this is figure 1, complex plane representation of the Asylum positioning. Since I'm reviewing this paper, I'm going to have to take some points away for properly, so far, this should have been submitted in MLA format with 12 point times New Roman. And I would like to see also some, better font next time, honestly, at this point. Okay, so, after careful consideration, we have determined that setting d equals -1/7 will yield optimal results according to the figure above. Example 1.1. Just to simplify things for you guys. You're assigned traditional position DPS1. Which position on the complex plane unit circle is this equivalent to? Well, if we multiply that by e to the power of I pi, which equals to cosine of squiggly line plus I times the sine of squiggly line, and we substitute that into DPS position 1, which is d equals -1/7. Obviously, the solution is for ddx. We set x equal to 1. This will result in p equals e to the power of I times pi multiplied by the exponent of 1 times -1/7 times, subtracted from by 5/14. Which simplifies to this following formula. Anyway, that's how you don't die to, the mechanic Storm the Heavens. Section 2. Very simple stuff here. Gust of Steam positioning. There are various methods of positioning during the Gust of Steam mechanic. Most DDs, or DPS, will however take on the superposition within the block sphere, representing the arena, where the ket is positioned at the exit and the ket of 1 is positioned at the entrance of the arena. The more experienced DPS may be successful in maintaining the superposition, only modifying the phase of the quantum DPS, moving between phase squiggly line equals -1 and +1 in order to avoid the Olms landing zones, mirroring and adapting the opposite phase of Olms. However, that strategy is more complicated, and this paper is aimed at a beginner audience. So we propose a simpler solution, represented by the figure 2 of block sphere representation of the quantum DPS positioning. The proposed solution is for every DPS to monitor the health of St. Olms. It is important to note that Olms will engage in gusts of steam at 90, 75, 50, and 25% of his health. For this reason, shortly before reaching this threshold, DPS should perform a measurement of their superposition, recommended T equals 3s, or 3 seconds, and thus collapse either to position 0 or 1, which is representing the entrance or exit sides, before St. Olms starts jumping. Very key point here, before. But you can do it as he jumps too, I might add. So there's already some flaws in the theory I'm presenting in this research paper, so I'm going to deduct some points away from this. To set up, DPS should start in the 0 state and apply the Hadamard rotation to themselves. Poseidon's trident, X, arrow equals H, 0, arrow, where the Hadamard rotation H is the quantum gate transformation. And that's represented by H equals 1 over the square root of 2, multiplied by the sets of 1, 1, and 1, -1. This will result in an equal superposition of 0 and 1 as H0 arrow equals 0 plus 1 arrow over the square root of 2. Now, DPS just needs to wait for St. Olms to get near the gust of steam activation threshold, and then perform a measurement M of Poseidon's trident X, collapsing the superposition resulting in their final position station at either the exit or the entrance of the arena. Well, that's the end of the paper. I hope you guys have learned how to not die in VA's hard mode, and perhaps apply these theories and mathematical formulas to other trials. But anyway, here's the sources if you guys want to look at it. Definitely check out ESO-U.com.